Like a caged tiger he waits. It is 3 minutes to go before dawn on the winter solstice, and I'm riding dawn till dusk. Right, there it goes. Officially, this is dawn. We won't see the sun for a good few minutes because we're in a valley, but it's officially dawn, so I'm off. So I have done this challenge before. I was surprised to find it was in 2020, and I did this challenge a couple of days after the winter solstice, and I managed 181 kilometers before it got dark. Actually, before my bottom became so sore, I decided to stop. Now, there's a couple of flies in the ointment. One, I've managed to sleep with a terrible posture somehow. My neck is absolute agony. So I've taken some painkillers, but it's not really a good start. The other rather tricky thing today is the 70 km/h winds expected. In fact, they've already started. So we're going to be having quite a lot of nasty headwinds, but at least we'll be having some beautiful tailwinds too. So I think I'm going to start with a headwind and get it over with early on. I don't quite know what I'll do later on in the day because it's just going to be awful. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. No, it's beginning to look like dawn. So my plan was to do a whole series of 40 and 50 kilometre loops from my house. Unfortunately, this wind is going to really scupper those plans, because the loop to the north goes through the Pas Lassa, as we've done many times. But the Pas Lassa is one of the very few ways for continental Spain to reach the coast. There's very few breaches in a ring of mountains that are inland from the coast. And this is one of those breaches that the Ebro, over the millennia, has forced its way through. And to say that it channels the wind is a bit of an understatement. So if it's going to be 70 km/h through the Pas Lassa, it will be 90, and that'll be later in the day. At the moment, officially, it's only about 30 km/h, so we'll get probably maybe a 40 km/h headwind. But it does mean that this loop, after this first loop, is going to be impassable, even with an e-bike. I'm not planning on using the battery very much today because it's not going to it won't last the distance, so it's going to be mostly me power, and that's fine because I'm not planning on doing huge mileages. What I'm planning to do is at least 7 hours on the bike, and in keeping with every single long range challenge that I've ever done, I forgot to start the Garmin, so I'm 4 kilometers in ish, and it's only just registering now. What a shame. I'm gonna have to add those in at the end. Hope you don't mind, but I'm going to. Brief. So no doubt the nutrition nerds will be wondering how I prepared in this for this challenge. It's going to be obviously quite a long ride. So I started obviously yesterday by forgetting to have an evening meal. Actually, not really forgetting. I'm trying to lose weight. And this morning, obviously, a bit more important to preload your carbohydrates. So I had half a cup of coffee and 2 paracetamols. That's the old church at Garcia. Had its roof blown off during the Spanish Civil War. And we are just entering the Pas Lassa. Again, hope you don't mind. It's very beautiful. And that trailer is full of dogs. They use these, I like to call them special trailers for their hunting dogs, the hunters. But they're not very special at all. Some of them are just like that one, with no air spaces or anything. The fancy ones have got vents in and a double decker, so you can get twice as many hunting dogs into a tiny trailer. Animal welfare isn't necessarily that big a thing out here. This is looking absolutely beautiful. It's just a train on the far side there. Goods train. This isn't the normal state of Spain's A roads. Spain's A road is about 30 yards to my left, and this is the old road, and they've just left a few loops in it when they straightened out the main road. I'll show you the difference. Oh, look at that. What a beauty. Unfortunately, because the Pas Lasse offers a breach in this range of mountains, of course it has a road in it, not just the River Ebro, and it does get very busy. It's just about the busiest road that I ride, but it's so gorgeous I can't resist it. It looks as though we've got dawn nearly happening. So regular viewers of this vlog might be a little bit bored today because I'm only going to be covering ground that you've already seen. So you'll know that up on this bluff is an Iberian village from circa 800 BC, and it overlooks the river, as they all do, almost all. They always have a commanding position, easily defended. We are on the Kemen today, so there's going to be some off-roading involved as well, but it's a beautiful path track along the side of the Ebro here. Too good to pass up. After about 2 years, there's finally some extra water coming down the River Ebro. We've not had any rain. It's still a drought here, but it's obviously raining somewhere, and that is the nuclear power station at Asco. Well, it's the cooling tower of the nuclear power station. I imagine it's these two things. I'm pointing in the wrong place again. I'd imagine that's the actual power station. Solitary cormorant, a long way from the sea. We get huge flocks of these birds, maybe 400, and they do the most incredible thing. They split into two groups, and one group is in the water, quiet, downstream. The other group fly upriver, land, and then in concert all flap their wings on the water whilst going downstream, making an enormous din, and it scares all the fish towards, they're flushing the fish towards the quiet waiting cormorants below, and almost as one they dive down into the water and collect the fish as they get scared towards them, and when they've had their fill they emerge, and as the beaters float towards them they take off, fly over them, land, and do the same thing in concert, crashing it into the water, flapping, scaring the fish down towards the waiting ex-beaters. Amazing thing. Right, well, we're 1 hour in and we're 21 kilometres in, so it's a pretty slow pace, but that's what I'm after, really. I just want to be able to keep going all day. Well, the day is 1 hour and 45 minutes old, but I'm quite cold, so I'm going to pop back and finish off that coffee and have a bite to eat. Bit of brekkie. Well, I feel much restored after that bowl of muesli and dried fruit. I would rather it was toast with Marmite and cream cheese, but you can't have everything in life. And if you're worried about me only having 2 halves of a cup of coffee so far, I do obviously have drinks along with me, and my coffee mug is actually 800 mils in size. So, and it's decaf, obviously, good for the heart. health freak these days, but I'm restored. So we'll do another hour and a half now, I guess, and then see how we're doing after that. I'm currently going along the River Sirana at the moment with its heavy traffic. The Sirana still is completely dry. I haven't seen it running in more than 2 years. So I talk about the Sirana being dry for 2 years, and the reason why that seems so stark and awful to me is because 3 years ago the weight of water took out the road that I'm on. That's how much water can come down this river, and it took the road out in a number of places along the valley, and almost since it's been dry, and it's this huge gravel bed with a complete absence of water. So just coming in for the second pit stop. It's been another hour and 3/4, so I've been riding for 3.5 hours, and the day's not quite 4 hours old. So that's almost my halfway point, which is surprising because it doesn't feel like halfway. It feels like I've not really done much at all. It's a very comfortable bike to ride, and I've got a new saddle. The one that came with it's awful. New to me saddle. It's a Cell SMP VT30. I actually bought it myself. It was second hand and it was a cheap price, but it's a cracking saddle. I'll probably show you it in a minute, but on this mountain bike, much more upright stance, it's really comfortable. Right, off we go again. I'm planning on making these afternoon sessions more like an hour and a quarter, hour and a half, rather than hour and 3/4. Just makes it a bit easier. And it's absolutely a howling gale now. They've actually turned the wind turbines into the wind, so they're expecting something quite significant. So I'm hoping I can keep going. I was gonna film myself coming over the bridge, but it was scary. Real terrible gusts grabbing the front wheel. So I decided before I started that this was going to be about saddle time rather than distance, and I'm glad because I did pretty well last time at 181 kilometers on the shortest day, or shortishest day. But today I'll be lucky to go over, well, I don't really know, we'll find out. But I suppose I had in my head it was going to be 140 kilometers. But as long as I did 7 hours in the saddle, because I'm kind of looking forward to doing some quite epic trips in this coming year. And I really need to know that I've still got it in my bottom to sit on the saddle for a long time and pedal. And this is, I've had no training for this at all. It's been such a long time. Oh, it's a big dog. Look at you. Good boy. Might be a girl. No training. I just wanted to see. Because sometimes when people do these fantastic rides and you think, wow, how did they do that? It's so far. And I've always wondered, is it just a matter of pacing yourself and having regular breaks? And I haven't really done a lot of time in the saddle yet, but it's already more than I've done in weeks. It feels absolutely fine, and I'm in no way exceptional. Just very much an everyday sort of a rider, and by that I don't mean I ride every day. I'd love to, but life gets in the way a bit, doesn't it? I'm wittering. It's a long ride, but as much as possible I'm on this sort of stuff. They're roads, they're just roads you've got to think about a little. Gravel, rocky. Oh, come on. Come and say hello. Look at you, you're like a big lion. They do like their dogs big around here. big softy, aren't you? You're a big softy. Public service announcements. Imagine living in the town and you've got a tannoy right next to your window. Lovely. So that's the end of loop 3 and we're only up to 100 kilometres. But it's 2:05 in the afternoon, so it's going. Got exactly 2 hours to go before sunset, and it's really, everything's hurting, everything. My bottom in particular. It's just not used to the amount of time in the saddle. I've had 2 coffee breaks and a tinkle break, and that's been it. I really fancy a bit of a longer break now, but I've just headed out on another loop instead. Just pushing myself a bit. Interesting. See how you do. So I've just finished my 4th break and I've only got an hour left. So I think my breaks are longer than I intended. It's going okay. It's not the distance, but I'm not even going to get 7 hours in, and I can't quite imagine why. I really didn't think I'd been resting on my laurels that much. I haven't actually had a proper meal. I've had a bit of tortilla, as in Spanish tortilla, Spanish omelette with lettuce, which hasn't really filled a hole. I did have more coffee though, and it was real coffee, so I should be supercharged for this next hour. That's how much day we've got left. So the sun here will actually disappear in about half an hour, but officially it doesn't set until 5:32, which is a good half hour later than that. So it's a good job I've got some running lights on this Kemen. We've still got about 10 minutes to go. I just thought I'd show you that there's no sun left, at least not here. So we've done it. It's going to end up being around 150 kilometres, maybe a little bit more. I don't know how long I've been riding for. A lot of it was off-road, so my undercarriage is battered like a good piece of cod. But I'd imagine it's about 6.5–6.75 hours of riding, and I'm really pleased because I haven't done it. I haven't been riding for so long, and to me it just shows that you just have to get on the bike. So my bum is a bit sore. My carpal tunnel, that went off. The incredible pain I had in my neck, which I don't know if I told you at the beginning, that went off, admittedly with the help of some painkillers. But I feel better now than I have all day. I feel I could just carry on going. That might be because I'm quite happy that I can stop in 11 minutes. I imagine it is because I can stop in 11 minutes, but I honestly feel better now than I did all day. Right, well, I've overshot by 5 minutes. But I had to get home. It'll be 6 minutes by the time I get home. It's going to end up being 155 kilometres, just shy of an Imperial Century. I'm very pleased with that. Didn't think I'd get that far today. There was quite a lot of off-roading. The whole thing was done on a MTB with its chunky tyres, so it is a bit slower. But yeah, pretty good. Pretty pleased with that. So if I can do it, and you should be watching this sometime just before the new year, if I can do it, what can you do in the new year? inspire yourself. Do something big. Go long. And until next year, thanks for watching.